Okay, let's jump right in and create a global image. As a reminder, you must have version 1.0 or later to be able to create global images. You can get that done under Updates in Nerdio Manager for MSP. And again, I am at the top level, right? I'm not in an account. I'm at the top level here, and I'm going to click on Global Images. The first thing I want to point out is that these are both unavailable, right? You'll notice that it says I need to go to the Settings section right here. We're going to click Environment. And this is important, as we discussed earlier, right? We need to be able to store our images. And so we need to link to a resource group and a network to be able to access those stored images. So I'm going to go ahead and click Linked Networks. Now I'm in my MSP tenant, right? Because this is my Nerdio Manager. I'm in my MSP subscription. And so I can create ahead of time a specific VNet and resource group for this. I'm just going to use existing just to kind of show what it looks like. So we'll use DemoNet for my linked network. And we'll use, I think I've got a demo resource group in here. Let's go ahead and we'll just use NMMRG. So again, in my MSP tenant, in my MSP subscription, I'm containing these resources, which I then push down to my client. Just think about the impact, right? Because you're carrying that image. So there is a small cost that you're taking on as the MSP. You should obviously be packaging that in your overall services back to the clients that use shared images. So now we can go to Global Images. My buttons are available. Now, for those who are familiar with standard desktop images in Nerdio Manager, this is the same layout, right? We're just storing it now in a global container. So I can click Add from Azure Library. Now let's walk through these again real quick, right? So again, we're going to name it. Let's just call it Webinar. Description, oh, I did double I there. Let's do Webinar Template. And then Azure image, right? So this is the underlying image that I'm going to start with, which I would then modify and then, create this as a larger scale image. I'm going to go ahead and use this 20H2, VM size and OS disk. Now, it's always important to remember, what am I deciding here? I'm deciding the size of my template or image VM, right? This impacts me when I'm working on the underlying VM that I then set as a image, which then spawns new VMs, right? I'm saying that because when you go to set up your host pools, right, that's when you're determining the size of the hosts. I'm simply making sure I'm providing myself enough size and storage to be able to update and prepare the image, right? Again, this is the image size, and then you'll determine your host sizes when you actually go to deliver the image in the accounts. So we'll leave those. D2's fine for now. I did not set up Active Directory in the settings page, so I can't join it to AD. I'm not going to dig into this. Again, this is a global image, so right here in credentials, I could set a global setting as needed. Again, this would be a join to AD function. I can choose to not create the image object yet. Again, optional. It really just depends on if there's other stuff that I immediately want to do before I set it as image. You can get a deeper dive here as to why you might choose that. I'm going to go ahead and let this fully create the image object. Again, what is the difference, right? Simply the actual image piece in Azure, right? It's still going to build a size, a disk, and a NIC. And I'm just determining whether or not it creates that image object at this time, which is going to be required to be able to create VMs from this VM. Time zone functions, right? The usual stuff. Here's the important part, shared image gallery, right? So if I'm net new and I don't have an SIG already, I can create one. If I type, I don't think I've got any in here, right? Yeah, so we're going to create a new one. Let's call this our Webinar SIG. And so that's going to create it. Now, regions. So any region that I need to be able to deploy into, I need to specify here. So I want to think about my client regions when I think about how this is going to be replicated. So it's going to have my current region, right? Because that's where I'm storing it. Now, let's say I also have a client in East US, and we'll go ahead and add them. And you can always go in and modify the SIG later on. And if you guys haven't seen this before, right, you can actually configure a local administrator on that VM. You can also overwrite this deeper in the account level settings and in the credentials here on the left. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and now we unlocked the OK because I hadn't put any information in there, right? And so I'm going to hit OK, and through the magic of a hand clap, we're going to make an hour pass. And through the magic of video editing, I've completed adding that global image. We can actually look at the details here. It took about an hour and a half. And again, that's all Azure time, generating and creating those assets. If we go to Azure, I can actually see, let's do a refresh here, that it's created things like the image definition, the image version. We can see that shared image gallery here, that SIG. So definitely make sure you check out Azure, look at the underlying resources, kind of understand the functions that are occurring. But what I can do now is I can actually manage this image, again, at the global level, right? So I can assign it to underlying accounts. I only have one in this demo, but we'll go ahead and assign it to that account. You'll notice that, I guess it'll have to finish its task, but there are options where you can clone it. You can actually determine the amount of backups of the image. So all really important things. The next thing we would do is we would take a look at it in the actual account. Let's take a look here and see if that's available. Yeah, so if I were to go to WVD, host pools, and I could either go into the manage properties on the existing host pool or go to add host pool. And if I go to desktop image, I'll see that I now have my global image available here. And so again, it's just like any of the desktop or marketplace images that you're generally working with. It's not going to show up as visible under desktop images at the account level. It's going to be something you can select when you're adding or modifying hosts or generating a new host. And again, if we jump back a level, we can go to global images, and again, you could have multiple of these, and we can see some of those options there.